I was suicidal, and I'd come from a long history of drug abuse and 12-step rehabilitation centres. And I've had many years in the program of Narcotics Anonymous in my case. But what was happening is that I kept relapsing. I kept going back to the drugs, no matter how much work I did on myself, to the point where not only the drugs weren't working, but I'd lost all sense of self. My life was in tatters. My marriage was in serious trouble. Financially, things were dreadful. And I ended up jumping off a balcony, and a very painful part of my life. And I literally got on the phone 24 hours later and found this place, which to me was an absolute godsend, because it was non-12-step. I mean, my only choice in the UK would have been a 12-step rehab or some sort of mental institution. But however, when I attempted suicide, I remember being taken in the ambulance to the hospital, and the hospital couldn't admit me because I wasn't ill. The mental health team came to see me, and they couldn't admit me because I wasn't mad. And there was just no place to go except a 12-step rehab, which for me was just, I've been to 6 already. I'd spent 15 years in meetings and with varied degrees of sort of, I can't say my life was bad in those years. It wasn't. I had a good period of 10 years clean, and then I relapsed, and then another 5 years clean, and then I relapsed again. And this time I just could not get back into meetings, and it took me to come here to understand what my problem was, which was trauma. And to understand that and to unlearn the previous model, which is that addiction is a disease and therefore I'm somehow defective, I have something wrong with me. What I was taught here was that I don't have some disease. I'm not, I'm a product of my upbringing and all the dysfunction in my family, and I'm not this defective addict that one gets labelled in, by going to meetings. My name is Nick, I'm an addict. Well, is that all I am? No, it's not all I am. I'm a lot more than that. And I managed to find this place just mainly by chance, but then when I read up a little bit about what you were doing here, I thought, at last, somewhere that I can actually deal with the primary issues, which I think in my case were, severe abuse when I was young. And, what was hard was that most of my friends who went through recovery with me, they didn't pick up and relapse. And to some people it works, but for others like myself, it just didn't. It didn't hit the spot. I never felt that I dealt with what was making me take drugs in the first place, and then why I couldn't stop. I couldn't find any self-esteem at all to enable me to actually want to fight for my life. And because I'd done so many rehabs, I just thought, oh my God, what choice do I have here? I have a 12-step rehabilitation centre or, drug use and ultimately death. And that's how bad it got. So when I came here, it was a huge, sort of mindset shift for me. It was I had to really reframe everything. What I was learning here is groundbreaking and totally groundbreaking. And, I think the program that's offered here is, for me, just the best thing that I ever found in my life. I really feel that the care and the support and the love and the sort of comfort of this place are all part of the healing process. It's made very comfortable here so that one can actually sort of relax and not have to do all the menial tasks of day-to-day life, and you can actually focus on you. For the first time in my life, I was able to focus on myself and not worrying about everybody else and all the harm and damage I've caused to everybody else, but actually what harm has it cost me and what has it done to me, this sort of illness. But as I've learned, it's not really an illness, it's a symptom of the trauma that I suffered as a child. And part of the work here is about bringing that part of me, that damaged part of me, inside me, learning to hold it, and then being able to kind of walk forwards into life sort of complete. Because I never felt complete before. And I can genuinely say I feel completely, I'm thinking differently. I'm a painter by trade. All my creative thinking is very different. I don't feel any compulsion to kind of go back to that, where I came from. In fact, I don't know, my life is going to go in a very different direction from now on. I can feel that, and I owe immense, tremendous gratitude to this place and the program that's been developed here. It's truly, truly remarkable, and I just hope that anyone listening to this can sort of take a leaf out of my book and book that ticket, because it's just extraordinary. I'm still learning on a daily basis. I've got a long way to go, but I feel I've been given a foundation that's sort of built on cement rather than sand. I really understand that part of me that was never addressed before. And one of the problems with the 12-step method is that you're taught that to look back and blame anything is somehow bad. And whilst it's not about blaming anything, one has to actually go through the stuff that happened, rather than just brushing it aside and saying, you're just avoiding taking responsibility. It was nothing to do with that. It was more about, for me, I had to understand how I ticked, and that's what I've done here. It's been truly an extraordinary journey.